Fantastic. Let's kick this off here. Welcome to today's Cake DeFi Twitter space. I hope you are all doing well. And this third week of the year has kicked off well for you. I am back in Singapore. Haven't been here in almost a little bit over a month. Trust me, if you're traveling with a 1 year old, any kind of any kind of 7 hour jet lag is way worse than you could possibly imagine. So yeah, I'm not intending on leaving in quite some time right now. Um, seeing the seeing how everything is with my son. So but was good to be in Europe over Christmas and see my parents. A little bit of personal time, I think, is also very, very important aside of all the business talk. Yeah, with that being said, I hope you are having a good week. We're doing these Twitter spaces on a weekly basis, always Tuesday, same time. And we discuss obviously what's happening at the company, address current situations, discuss the market, discuss questions. So if you have any questions, then simply tweet at myself at Julian Hosp or at the company account at Cake DeFi. I've seen a couple of those questions and I will address them actually at the very beginning because the most of them were discussed in the last Twitter space. So I just want to kind of quickly go over them. In case you're not listening to the full episode, then you at least have this part, and then Fabio and I discuss a bit of the markets. Yeah, I think first and foremost, this was a question I got from a couple of you. Are there any updates on the BaFin situation? The short answer is no. Our lawyers have reached out. BaFin hasn't responded, and also they they only respond when they have finished with whatever their investigation is. I have no clue what the investigation is, and our lawyers have even suggested that it could take years for them to finish. Sometimes it's actually the strategy to just leave it hanging. So we need to see. Again, no update on that. Business as usual. We don't expect anything for now. Again, as soon as anything happens there, we'll let you know, of course. The other thing now that we had a lot of team members in, especially in the first 2 weeks of the year, is always the same. We've pretty much integrated now everyone, so everyone starts hitting the ground running. You're gonna feel this on all aspects. We have more engineers in, we have more people on the marketing side in, people on the customer success side. So you should be feeling this left and right. And yeah, it's always at the beginning. I think you notice either you run a company yourself or you are working in a company. Whenever you have new team members join for a week or two, that's a bit of a slowdown. It takes a little bit to integrate everyone. I think we've done a very good job. I think we have a very good system now also to get team members on. So that's, I think, quite easy and quite comfortable now for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, last week, as discussed during the Twitter space, if the DeFi chain proposal goes through for having a solution for the DBDC issue, then we at Cake DeFi are going to open any kind of DBDC activity that was done. Initially, some people said, oh my goodness, all the DBDC are going to leave. Actually, we didn't see any of that. We saw DBDC leaving, but at the same time, we saw DBDC coming in. So it was kind of a net zero. Yeah, and that's also what I kind of highlighted. I said, look, very unlikely that there's going to be any issue, but there has to be a solution. So yeah, if you are a DBDC holder or if you're a DeFi chain ecosystem member, I think everything turned out to be good. So that's as expected, to be honest. Quick summary, there was a question on when can people expect loans on Cake DeFi. That is a target for Q1. So again, just to clarify, Q1 means 31st of March. So it may happen in February, it may happen in March. It actually may happen in April, right? So that's the internal timeline. We're not promising that loans will be in Q1, but the internal timeline is to have this ready within Q1. So this is kind of the internal loan feature that's going to be very cool. That way you don't have to sell any of the crypto, but you can still get fiat for it or dollars for it. You get stable coins and then you can convert those. Another thing that we have in the Q1 timeline that I discussed many times already, but that I just want to kind of highlight here, it's going to be a stronger focus on the mobile app. Probably the loan feature will only be available on the mobile app. Now, I understand that some of you may be using the desktop version. However, for us, the data is very, very clear. The user experience, the possibilities of actual functionality will be way better and way easier on the mobile app. So just expect to get way more updates and features that way. If you haven't downloaded the mobile app, what are you waiting for? Go to the App Store. Look for the Cake DeFi mobile app and have fun with that rather than the website version. Now, of course, we're not going to shut down the website version, but it's going to be more like a system where you have all the functionalities on the mobile app, and the web version is a bit more like for monitoring and seeing certain things. So I think that's just to kind of give a focus there. And then also, and that was a big wish from our obviously customers who have frozen masternodes with us, but obviously also from a community standpoint, a feature that should be ready before the next voting round on DeFi chain is that you can actually vote on the app, right? So that's going to be an important one. So that way you don't have to do the email thing. You will have to sign yourself with the GitHub account. Once this happens on chain, this is going to be done automatically. But at the moment, you still have to use your own GitHub name and sign. We don't want to do that for you. And actually, we never did that for you. So now we just want to make this way easier and seamless. So that's something that you should be looking forward to. And last but not least on the updates a bit is obviously people ask, when are we listing more coins? So that is targeted for Q2. Again, that's targeted, right? So it may happen only in Q3. It may never happen. That always depends on priorities, product timelines, regulatory guidelines. So I think that is a very key aspect in that. I think these are the main kind of things that I wanted to just kind of update the community on. This is more like a reminder. I don't think any of this is kind of new to most of you that are following either the podcast or the Twitter spaces. I don't know, Fabio, did I leave anything out of the things that you feel I should point out here? Maybe one thing, Chinese New Year is coming up in 2 weeks. So we're definitely going to have a very exciting and cool promotion ready for that. It's going to be applicable to all of you, similar like Christmas. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. You need to have a verified account. So I hope you have done KYC already to have access to that. Fabio, anything else that I missed that I need to mention from your point of view?
Hi, everybody. I guess you mentioned everything that is really important. Particularly important for me is, of course, the voting, that it's native on the website. For everybody that's already voted, you know why? Because the voting initially was on my table. There were lots of manual work involved, so I'm very, very happy we found a good solution on that. And I think this is for the first week in February.
Cool. One topic I would love to address. I was tagged quite a lot. If this could also happen to Cake DeFi, and again, I don't know all the details yet, so maybe Fabio, you know a bit more. There seems to have been an issue with Crypto.com, and I don't know the exact issue, so it's very difficult for me to comment on this. And I'm not sure actually if Crypto.com has made an official statement. I don't want to comment on that as much as what like if funds are safe at Cake DeFi. So I don't know, maybe first I wanted to ask you if you knew anything more than I do. Was there actually a hack? Was there not? I just heard that there were some withdrawal issues. And then there was a research site that said, I don't know, $15 million worth of ETH were stolen. But again, I do not know any of that as a hard fact. I would rather then after you shed some light on that, I would rather comment a bit on our aspect than commenting on other companies' stuff.
I'm also not very much up to date. The only thing that I've seen so far is also 15 million USD. I think 5,000 user count. And as far as I saw it, I just scanned through several things on Twitter. It was a user side thing. So there were like accounts that were affected. So it was not like a server side hack or something that but they targeted the user accounts, as far as I'm concerned. But don't take my word for it. I also need to do some reading on it.
Sure. I mean, maybe let me address a few things. And also, RF made a tweet about this. Also, u-zyn mentioned like security. We've seen in Singapore, we have seen specifically a lot of phishing scams with banks at the moment. OCBC here, one of the largest banks, even announced that they are going to refund a lot of customers. Obviously, a couple of things. We enforce 2FA for all our customers, right? And so I highly recommend you use 2FA on all of your services. Do not use SMS verification. It is insecure. So again, I don't know if this had anything to do with crypto.com. I just heard from people that their 2FA were reset or something. So yeah, just make sure that you're using 2FA and that is secure. One thing that I can assure you, and I mean, that is maybe the upside also, right? On our system, a lot has actually a manual check. So it is very few things, especially on the withdrawal side, are actually automated. And we do this on purpose. And sometimes we get complaints about this, and I get those complaints because people expect our withdrawals to happen within seconds. And most of the time they do, but sometimes when certain limits are reached, they don't. And then it takes, and we say up to 3 working days. Hardly ever does that happen, but like that is exactly one of the reasons. So we had this special episode also here on security, and I think our system is as secure as can be, and we're doing as many like extra checks on the one hand, have some automated systems and combined with manual systems. This many times is actually the best combination you can have in security. Yeah, we're doing as good as we can. So again, it's impossible for me to comment if something like that can happen at Cake DeFi for the simple reason because I actually don't know exactly what happened. If it was a user side issue, then again, this is always a bit tricky for the company because I mean, if there was a compromise from the user side, then the company, yeah, if the company doesn't catch it fast enough, then these funds go out, and then it depends a bit on what actually happened, who's liable, to kind of discuss further steps and also discuss insurances and so on, right? So there's always a bit of a difficult question, and I mean, at the end, we are doing our best to make sure that our customer funds are protected, and we want to be sure that you are safe. So you have my full like commitment on that. Again, so I hope that addresses that a bit. Yeah, another topic that I want to bring up, obviously we're Singapore-based. MAS here came out yesterday, advising that any licensed DPT, so digital payment token company that's either dealing with DPTs, trading DPTs, is not allowed to advertise in Singapore in order to protect customers. And so I would love to address that a bit. On the one hand, obviously, and Cake DeFi is set up on purpose that way. We don't allow any kind of trading of DPTs. We're not an exchange. We're not a trading platform. I would say majority of the customers that come actually to Cake DeFi, they already own crypto. So we're not the typical on-ramp from fiat into crypto. Some customers are, but it's rather the exception, right? So obviously, the way we target our customers, the way we talk to customers is completely different than, for example, a Coinbase would do or a Binance would do that would really onboard customers from fiat into crypto. On top of that, most of our products actually need some explaining and need some education. And so very often when we actually address customers and new clientele, it's not like come to Cake and like sign up, because most of the time people need some explaining. So most of the time we do a lot of educational content, educational pieces that we guide people to. So yeah, we have, for us, we don't see much of an impact, to be honest, with that, simply because we're not a trading platform. Additionally, our focus is not the hardcore kind of conversion from like no clue to use liquidity mining or do staking. Most of the time, it's very an explanatory step-by-step process. So yeah, there was especially obviously some concerns from the Singaporean side. This really doesn't affect Take DeFi at all. Also, we monitor the situation. I think this affects the kind of onboarding of customers a bit more. I think like Binance has had to leave Singapore, but like I think especially the platforms that really target like new customers, they're going to be affected by that a bit more than our side. Yeah, so I just wanted to address that because I think some of the Singaporean-based users are maybe had those concerns. I had a question here. Yeah, cool. Fabio, any other topic other than like discussing a bit of the market? Anything that you feel I missed or that I need to address here?
Yeah,
These were all the
maybe
questions I saw. So yeah.
maybe one more thing to add. You touched briefly on security at Cake, and there is like two things that are happening right now for everybody that doesn't know already. There is like a public PCOB audit that is happening, and there is also a penetration simulation, an external penetration test where we simulate the system getting attacked by hackers. And this is also the penetration test is done in Q1 this year, and the PCOB audit is an ongoing thing. And both of this is like we have a really top-notch players, external companies looking at the system and trying to really iron out anything that could go wrong. But this is maybe an important information to mention.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you that don't know what a PCAOB audit is, that's basically that's a super in-depth audit into our financials, into our governance, into our compliance. It's basically the audit that any publicly listed company would have to do. And we are actually mainly doing that for the simple reason that we want to give our customers the utmost assurance, not only on the blockchain side. I mean, we are as transparent as can be, but then on top of that, on the back end from the financial side, that you know exactly that what we're doing is exactly like what we say we're doing, and we are working with as much care and due diligence as somehow possible. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I just see that Arif, I think, is trying to log in. Would be interesting to hear a bit on the security side from him. I don't know. He seems to have connecting issues, but we can also do this at the end. Then we do a bit of a security segment at the end. Yeah, if nothing else, Fabio, then let's kind of segue over to the markets. How does that sound? We talk a bit about the lack of action, I think, over the last week.
Yeah. Let's jump into the markets.
Cool. Why don't you share a bit on your side? What have you seen? What happened over the last couple of days since last week? I mean, it really, to me, was a very boring sideways movement. I don't know, maybe it was because I was so freaking busy, but I really almost, I don't know, I didn't see any news. I didn't see anything. The market, I think, is still at the same place where it was a week ago. Yeah, you said you had some really key topics to discuss here. So I don't know if this was related to the market. I didn't ask anything further, but I'm quite excited to hear what are these key interesting topics.
Yeah, but maybe for a general overview from since 5th of January, so since the beginning of the year, we had this sell-off right at the beginning of the year, and then since 5th of January, we just go sideways. And I'm just waiting for the meme, come on, Bitcoin, do something. That if you have a few weeks or a few days of sideways actions, people are getting impatient. And also there is the sentiment is pretty neutral at the moment. Like I see lots of bearish content, people expecting prices to go a lot lower, especially we touched on that last week, the uncertainty or the announcement of the Fed that they want to hike, that they want to increase rates. And but generally, I guess the market sentiment is pretty neutral at the moment. There are, like you briefly touched on that, for everybody listening, this is important. Our Twitter spaces are more or less completely freestyle. It's not that we plan this and that we discuss, okay, we're only talking about this, or that it is scripted. We just exchange a few messages before we start space to get aligned on what we could talk about. And I mentioned to Julian that there is something I picked up in a podcast last week that I found pretty interesting. And to jump right into it, this is called an S-curve adoption research. And there is I picked this up on What Bitcoin Did podcast, and there is a guy that is like an expert in S-curve adoption, and he found a pattern that is true for almost every technology that came out during the last like 100 years. So we're talking about phones, about TVs, about railroads, internet, mobile phones, and what this he introduced the concept of if a new technology is adapted, the technology gets an adoption rate of around 10%, and it has a certain time period that leads up to these 10%. So, and with Bitcoin, you don't like, there's several studies. It's different. It's difficult to make them worldwide, but you can look at like Europe or at the United States, where we reached an adoption rate in 2019 or 2020 of 10%. And what this study of S-curve adoption says is the same period that a technology uses to get to 10%, the same time period it will be to reach 90%. So following this research or this idea, this would mean we would get a general crypto adoption or let's say Bitcoin adoption of 90% until 2029. And I found this pretty interesting that this was true for all other technologies, and probably or very likely could be true for cryptocurrencies as well. So I just wanted to bring this in. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, we're all here for the tech, right? But still, I would love to know, what does this mean for the price?
Yeah. The funny thing is, I think the podcast was titled, I'm actually not 100% sure which podcast it was on. I said it what Bitcoin is, but maybe it was Investors Podcast or another one. But the title of the podcast was 1 million Bitcoin until 2029. There were some other interesting things that they brought up, like that there is this shakeout period where, and this was true for most of these adoption, between 40 and 50% of adoption. So this would be in a few years down the road, where like you had that in the .com period as well, that this could also be true for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my opinion hasn't changed from last week. I don't see much downside from here. So I think for those that are accumulating, it's a really, really good time for us to accumulate. I really don't see that much downside. You would always have to ask, what worse would have to happen, right? So if Fed raises rates right now, I don't think this is worse. I think this is just as expected, right? And most investing always happens with the expectation. So that is always key. So I don't see what would have to happen for it to become worse. I mean, one issue to look at, right, to watch out for, in my opinion, is a bit Ukraine, what's happening there, Russia, US, that's a topic that could kind of shake up markets a bit. But other than that, I'm not sure there are that many crazy events, like at predictable events in the short term or the midterm horizon, that I would see as a possible kind of for Bitcoin to go much lower. Now, like, am I saying Bitcoin couldn't touch the 40,000 again? No, I'm talking more about Bitcoin not going to 30,000. So that is not what I'm expecting. I want to make this clear here. Again, I have no crystal ball. Sometimes I say I have a crystal ball 3,000, but that thing seems to be broken a lot. So I don't know what the future brings. So this is just my personal expectation. So for me, very limited downside. I also want to make it clear, very limited upside, in a sense where participants are cautious. People are more risk off right now. They don't want to risk too much. We see this in the tech sector. Tech sector generally selling off way stronger than most other stocks. Yeah, for those, especially in the crypto space, that are always laughing about Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway just reached an all-time high. I think Berkshire, not 1 year ago, but I think if you compare it over the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, Berkshire has even outperformed BTC. So maybe also if you want to buy decentralized assets on Cake DeFi, we do have decentralized assets. So take a look. Maybe interesting to diversify as well. But so yeah, it shows people are a bit more security conscious. They are a bit more pessimistic about the future, and crypto kind of feels that, right? So I don't see like the significant downside. I don't see the significant upside. So obviously, fantastic times to accumulate, fantastic time to get cash flow on your crypto. And I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm the CEO of that company. I'm genuous, like that's my genuine opinion, right? So want to make this clear. Three events, and I mentioned these last week as well, that could change that to the upside specifically. One, the Fed making a bit more of a poker, bluffing, and actually saying, hey, you know what? No, we're not raising rates, so it's going to become a bit more bullish. That could easily change the sentiment. The other one, which I think could actually happen earlier, is a larger institution that has significant skin in the game already to start buying crypto for a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I do think there are several parties that would have an incentive for that. Tether, I think, very much. Could also be a MicroStrategy, could be some of the larger funds, could be a Grayscale, and so on, right? So, and nothing is wrong about this. It's just this happens in many markets. So I see that this could be a very likely scenario over the next 1 or 2 months. And then last but not least is yeah, I mean a Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, to be honest, I don't see this like I don't see this in the first 6 months. I rather see this a bit later down the line, maybe in the second half of the year for a realistic kind of chance. Yeah, but again, it doesn't necessarily have to happen. It's more about the expectation that it happens. But also be clear here. Any kind of fund that creates that expectation that it will be it will approve a Bitcoin spot ETF, that's relatively dangerous when it comes to the SEC. So I'm not sure how much hopium or FOMO can be created that way. So yeah, that's just a kind of a bit of that sentiment hasn't changed. One feedback, Fabio, to your S curve or to that S curve idea is 90% of what, right? So what's the ultimate kind of end target audience? If you compare, let's say, crypto to the internet, I would just caution a bit that I just don't see ever 100% of people being interested in a decentralized system for the simple reason because majority of people, they actually don't want to give away the responsibility. They want to give away the responsibility. They don't want to have the responsibility. They would love to have the hand holding from someone else. I just doubt that ever 100% of people say, oh, sure, I'm going to be in charge. I'll take care. So that is a bit of a question. Also, when you look at actually investing statistics, I think, I don't know, 15% of the entire population actually invests or something, or 20%. So like always a bit also careful in what kind of percentages do you use here. I don't know if they went into that, but to me, there's a very big difference in the kind of target audience that the internet has versus what a decentralized system has. I just don't see a decentralized system hitting as many possible users than the entire internet would be. I don't know if they went into that, but that is something that I would really kind of focus on. And again, I'm speaking to some really large funds right now. I have spoken to some really large funds in the past. I mean, these numbers, I mean, we discussed this a lot. Like, what's a possible kind of target audience for crypto in total? What could be a possible target number that Cake DeFi could have out of this? And like, if I would tell people that I don't know, in the future, 8 billion people will be onboarded to crypto, I think all of these funds would call me crazy. They work with way lower numbers, right? So again, and I actually agree with that. That doesn't make it any less significant. I just want to put that a bit into perspective. And I don't know, Fabio, what do you think about that?
They were talking about general exposure into crypto in general, but I guess you're on point there. There is lots of people that would never go way down the rabbit hole and take self custody of their assets and go deep into a decentralized system. I guess the only way, if we could ever reach this 90% adoption rate or this 90% exposure rate, is through centralized services that make it really easy. Like here in Europe, we have Revolut, or in the States, you have Cash App, where people get really easy exposure to cryptocurrencies, but they don't actually hold them. It's more of an IOU. And maybe another way to think about it is if there is like big pension funds getting exposure to Bitcoin as well, it was also kind of with steps in between mean that lots of people get indirect exposure to Bitcoin because they own part of their pensions, and the pension funds have small exposures into Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. Some with some extra step, it would be possible to actually reach these 90%. But I agree with you that if you compare it to an individual, like if you compare it with mobile phones or the internet, there is like a problem maybe with measuring it.
But also, I mean, I think at the moment, I don't know what the latest studies are. I think there's around 250 million people in the crypto space right now. So, I mean, if you count that over the whole population, we're talking about what, 3%, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. So, yeah, definitely still like not the 10% that people will be talking about. Now, if they say, look, maybe in the future there will ever be 2 billion people onboarded into crypto, which I really think is a realistic number. Like, let's be real here, right? I think 2 billion people, I think that's really realistic. Then, hey, let's say we're at around 200 million right now. Then this 10% kind of S-curve idea is relatively realistic, to be honest.
Yeah, in the States, they made several studies and surveys. It's always difficult to really know the exact figures, but they like the latest I think that I saw was 23% of Americans they had or have exposure to some kind of cryptocurrency, which is actually a lot more than I was expecting. And if you go into other countries, it differs a lot. Like you have a lot of adoption in Central Europe, in Northern America, and some let's say isolated countries, like for example El Salvador or Nigeria, there, or Turkey, you have some outliners, and with other countries there, I think not even close to the 10%.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. What is the general kind of influencer sentiment at the moment? Are they more like, okay, it's gonna go sideways, it's gonna go further down? I mean, you mentioned this a bit further. What do they see as the catalysts for each kind of side? I shared a bit of my ideas. I mean, I have not much else to share here, so I just wanted to see a bit what's the general kind of sentiment and feeling here.
Like there's a general sense of disappointment, and there is two ways of influencers and people handling this on Twitter. Like you have this one group of influencers, and these are like, Tech Dev 52, or maybe also like Benjamin Cohen or Plan B, or like I guess the Hopium guys that were always predicting 6-figure numbers and that were quite sure and had these models and these predictions, and they're kind of adjusting them down and still try to find that their models are valid, or find some other view of looking at it, that it's still happening. The super cycle theory, or the extended the lengthening cycle theory, or all these things, they kind of try to make those models valid. And then you have the other people that are calling them out like consistently and say Plan B is just a hopium dealer and his models failed, and why do you follow them? And so I guess a little bit of I would say there's definitely another group of people, like the bears, that had it super easy since like November, because prices were continuously going down. And then you have, of course, like all the very famous people that consistently trash talk cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, like Peter Schiff, that feels he's right again and Bitcoin will go much lower than it is right now. I guess the general sentiment is people had very different expectations of where we would be in December or where we would be in January. And the reality is just different. Everybody was expecting 6 figures and we are not there. So there is this undecisiveness, and people, the expectations were not fulfilled. And I think it was Bill Gates that said people overestimate what something can achieve in the short term, and they underestimate what it can achieve in the long term. And I guess this is kind of true right now. We just overestimated where Bitcoin would be at this point in time, and it's just not true. But somewhere I also have the feeling that we are underestimating where cryptocurrency could be maybe 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I could completely like identify myself with this because I was also reflecting, why do I have such an easy time right now? And I'm actually not disappointed at all. And I don't feel that I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong, but people who are either following me on social or are following us with the company, I don't feel people are that disappointed. And I actually changed my mind end of October. Um, very significantly because I felt October was way too bullish and it didn't have the substance and it was based on like not enough facts and way too much fiction in my opinion, right? And that's when I changed my opinion. I completely switched my probabilities of where like Bitcoin was going to go. I still gave it a chance for it to hit 100,000, but like it completely flipped for me where at the beginning of October I was still like I was super bullish that it could hit the 100,000. Then it rallied so much in October, and that's when it flipped for me because I was like, that made no sense. That rally was way too early, didn't have enough substance, and that's when I kind of switched, right? And I mean, I shared this on YouTube and I discussed, and I'm also here on the show, right? I think, I mean, we have been doing this, I think, even since end of September, I think, so for the last 4 months, and yeah, so I could totally identify myself now when you said some people had it a lot easier, and I said, yeah, I actually agree. I had it very easy because my expectations were super, super low. In how we would end the year and how we would go into the year. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And I can totally see that how some people were like really, really bullish and they just didn't deviate from like, in my opinion, again, I mentioned this last time several times. I don't want to be like a broken record. I think it's very tricky to have a model and keep the model the same if the underlying facts change. And like considering what the Fed is doing, considering how yeah, how Bitcoin hyped in October without much substance, just based on a bullish narrative, to me just made it less likely afterwards to keep performing that way. Obviously, I also want to mention one thing. Had I known that Bitcoin would go from 69,000 to 40,000, obviously I would have sold all my crypto holdings. I'm not a trader. I don't expect to know what's going to happen. I just have a bit like I'm a very long-term kind of hodler. So for me, it's all about long-term focus. I only rebalance if one side completely outperforms another side. So if the crypto side outperforms the non-crypto side, then I'm happy to rebalance. But other than that, yeah, I don't touch my holdings. I haven't touched my holdings in I don't know. I think end of October was the last time I touched them, and since then I haven't really done anything significant. There was one time when I sold some DFI into DPDC, and that was just because DPDC was so underpriced on the DEX, and then it completely switched the other way, and then I sold the DPDC back into DFI. It was actually a really nice trade, to be honest, but that was really not based on I would believe that DFI or DPDC was going to outperform. That was purely, and I mentioned this on Twitter publicly, that was purely because one side was just so like outbalanced on the DEX, and yeah, that was kind of the other than that, I haven't touched any of my holdings right now, be it stocks, be it cash, be it bonds, be it crypto, be it real estate, be it precious metals or whatever. Haven't done anything significant in all that. So yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, maybe we see a similar trends with our customers actually. Like if you compare our user base with a user base of an exchange, it's very different because people, our customers, they also have this long-term time horizon, and we couldn't see big outflows between 60 and 40. Like our customers are the same as you, holding these assets for the long run and profiting actually from a sidewards and downwards market because they continue to get cash flow on their assets. And plus, there is a decent chunk of users that entered the market in 19 or 20 or 21. And for them, these levels are actually a perfect time to accumulate and increase their position size. And so from a company's perspective and also from our user base, this is actually a good period. And for us, user growth and asset growth have been pretty stable, and we don't seem to be as affected as, let's say, leverage exchanges or exchanges in general, where people trade their assets. Our customers are more hodlers than anything else.
Yep. Yep. I just kicked my headphones out when I pressed the unmute button. Sorry. Yep. I 100% agree. I mean, we see this. We actually measured in coins, not measured in dollars, measured in coins. We set a new record almost on a weekly basis. Obviously, at the end, it depends on the dollar conversion. If that results into an all-time high on the total balances that our customers have, and at the same time, our a record in if customers got all-time high rewards. But yeah, very different customers, different customer behavior, long-term kind of time horizon. Obviously, yeah, very different. Cool.
Maybe I would love to bring up something, because what I see a lot on social media and also like on Telegram or on Twitter is people asking, hey, are we going to enter a 4-year bear market, or is this over? Is this the bubble popping, or let's say a little bit of the on newer people that are just wondering, hey, what is happening? And I have maybe 2 metrics to look at that could be interesting for you if you have not considered them. If you just compare the crypto market that we have right now with the .com era, let's say from 95 to 2001, there is 2 metrics that are pretty interesting. For example, the total market cap we had in .com assets during the peak in 2001 was 3.7 trillion. And this was just a US phenomenon. This was not a worldwide thing. Most of the people that participated in this were US based. With cryptocurrencies, we have a worldwide market. So you can expect the number, and I think we never passed 2.5 trillion or so. You could expect this number to be a lot higher than these 3.7 trillion. So we're not there. And maybe another fun metric to measure is during the .com period, you had like 40 to 50 stadiums in the US, and also I think a little bit outside of the US, that were sponsored by a .com company. And in the crypto sphere, we are at two stadiums right now. I think FTX Arena and Crypto.com Arena. And other than that, so there's still a long way to go. And I think we're just hitting the beginning stages of those companies like getting really out there. I think the Super Bowl is sponsored by either Crypto.com or FTX, or maybe even both. Yeah, so these are maybe 2 interesting things to look at.
Yep, very interesting. Good, thanks for mentioning that. Cool. Yeah, I think maybe at the end, Arif, I would love to get you on. Maybe, I don't know, share, kind of reiterate the security measures we have. I mean, you're leading a lot of those efforts. Yeah, the pen testing, all these things. I don't know. I don't know what good questions to ask here. I think you are the expert. I mean, the good question I have is like, how is our customer fund safe without, and obviously I would love you to answer that without revealing any of the vulnerable details that could like open any kind of attack vectors. But yeah, I don't know what you can share, and just to really build that customer confidence that we're doing our utmost best to keep our customer data and customer fund safe.
Thanks, Julian. So right now we are basically prepping up for an external pen test, and we'll be choosing a reputable firm to perform this pen test. Ideally, some an organization which has a lot of accreditations and certifications, and they'll basically simulate how an external adversary can attack our applications, and they'll try to find vulnerabilities and deliver a report to us. And yeah, so basically we'd be trying to see if there are any security vulnerabilities in our system with that pen test. And this penetration test will happen ideally maybe twice a year or as needed. And this will help us in finding any security vulnerabilities, just like Fabio said. And apart from that, we are also bringing in a number of improvements to our login process. So maybe in a couple of weeks, you would see that we'll have a new login implementation, and this will basically be an approval process. So after you would log in, if you log in from a new IP address, we'll basically send an email to your email account and asking you to confirm that login. And only when you confirm the login through the email link, you'd be allowed to your account. So that would ideally protect you against any credential stuffing attacks or any of the phishing attacks. Like if any attacker has been able to get access to your credentials, in an extreme case, you would still be able to they would still be not be able to get into your account, even if you have disabled 2FA, because you would have to approve that login through the login approval process. So we similarly we are actually planning a number of security improvements over the coming months, and I hope in 2020 we'll try to make Kick DeFi more safer for our customers. And we are constantly trying to build secure by default products, secure by design products, and we're constantly thinking of ways how we can add security to the design. And if you have any feedbacks, or if you have any concerns or feedback, do feel free to reach out, and we'll try our best to work on them. Yeah, so that's it.
Do we have a bug bounty on Cake DeFi for people who have bugs, or how would people report that?
So you can, if you have, if you believe that you have found any bugs, you can email us at security@kickdefi.com. We don't really have a bug bounty program as such. I would say that we are still a growing startup, and so it's kind of hard. Our engineers are really stretched out to like build out new features, and I would say that having a bug bounty program also means that we have to make a commitment to our user to all the reporters that we fix the issues at the soonest. And if there are, let's say, low priority issues, that would be a poor experience for the reporter, because if there's any low priority security issue, we obviously put it in the backlog. And I would say that when we grow to a when we have a larger team with we aim to launch the bug bounty program when we like in the future. We are just exploring the aspects, but as of now we do pay bounties on on a case by case basis. If you have any critical vulnerability, or if you have any high severity vulnerability, we'll try to reward you based on the impact the vulnerability has. Of course, if there are any mitigating factors that that would make it less impactful to us, then it would be a lower bounty, and probably it can be a low severity issue, which might not qualify for a bounty. But that being said, it's still a case by case basis, and we don't have any formal bounty program at the moment, but we do look forward to set it up in the future.
Cool. Thanks, Arif. That's really good. Yeah, I want to highlight that as well. I mean, as soon as you publish a bug bounty program, you get literally like tens of like messages a day just for that. Yeah, this is capability wise very difficult. But obviously, if you are reporting a bug to security@cakedefi.com, we will reward you definitely if that is a critical bug. And we have done that already. If we found something, if someone found something and reported that, we did reward that. Nothing major critically so far, but for us,
yes, I would like to iterate that we have rewarded in the past. We have rewarded higher amounts for, even I would say, vulnerabilities which didn't have really high exploitability. Possibility of exploitability. We still get prioritized at the report, and we still appreciated the effort of these reporters, and we have rewarded them. So yeah, we do encourage people to report issues. We'll be happy to go through them and analyze the risk by the CVSS framework. And yeah, if it meets the bar, we will be more than happy to reward them with DeFi, provided you have a DeFi address. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Fantastic. Yeah, with that, I think everything that we wanted to share was shared. Fabio, did we miss anything?
No, 100%. I think we touched on the most important things. This was more of a general market update, and I think we can go into other specifics maybe next week and find some nice topics to talk about. But I think
especially especially once, as I mentioned, a lot of team coming in, so a lot of kind of teamwork there. Now we feel that rubber meets the road. More to share a bit about like as soon as things go live, when they actually go live. I'm not much of a futurer in a sense where I like to talk about all the things that may be coming or are coming. I prefer to really discuss the things that are here, discuss them a bit more. I think that is an important one. So yeah, other than that, quick reminder, tomorrow is a DeFi Chain Twitter space. I don't know, Fabio, what time is that?
I think around midday, 12 o'clock Central European time.
Right. So 7 p.m. Singapore time. Yeah. So 7 p.m. Singapore time. It will be a community discussion. Will be really focused on various options. So if you are invested in DeFi Chain, don't miss that. And otherwise, I hope you are subscribed to the podcast here. I hope you leave us a positive review. I hope you set a calendar reminder for next Tuesday, 6:30 Singapore time, so 11:30 Central Europe time, and then you tune in live. With that, I want to say thanks to everyone tuning in. I want to say thanks to all our customers. Again, reminder, there's a Chinese New Year promotion coming up. You want to be a KYC customer by that time. And yeah, with that, thanks, Fabio. Thanks, Arif, for tuning in and sharing some of your thoughts. And yeah, with that, hey, have a really good rest of a day, rest of a week. Thank you so much. Stay healthy, stay well. All the best in the meantime. Yours truly, Julian, and bye-bye.